The end of another long week is here. That means it's time for the Left of Lansing Friday Short with Pat Johnston.
Here's the Friday Short for February 13th of 2026. In order for the rich, elite oligarchy class, better known as the Epstein Class, to remain in power, they must devise ways to suppress the voice of us, the working class. Like Germany's brown shirts, the Trump regime has the ICE Gestapo, which unlawfully hunts, terrorizes, kidnaps, and disappears brown and black people, many of whom haven't committed so-called dangerous crimes and are either legally here or are going through the process to obtain citizenship. It's part of the overall plan to not only demonize marginalized people, but to dehumanize marginalized people. Because, as we've learned from some of the Epstein files, the longing for a whiter America is quite prevalent, and the Epstein class understands dehumanizing a subsect of the population is how best to divide the class it exploits and takes advantage of the most, the working class. And when the white working class stands up and defends the constitutional rights of the marginalized working class, the Trump regime directs its ICE Gestapo to beat, detain, humiliate, and, if need be, kill those defenders of democracy as a symbolic way to show that they are in charge and that they are above the law. As we witnessed this week, the Trump regime's corrupt attorney general appeared in front of Congress to protect the regime's main voting bloc and benefactors, the Epstein class. She wasn't there to defend the rights of the victims who were raped, trafficked, and dehumanized by so many billionaire and political elites inside billionaire Jeffrey Epstein's child rape club. She wasn't there to defend them. Again, the attorney general showed all of the world that the regime, aided and abetted by its MAGA Republican Party, will do whatever it takes to protect its class, the Epstein class. So they'll do whatever it takes to suppress the working class, including sending in the ICE Gestapo to violently silence dissenters and by also suppressing the vote. MAGA Republicans in Congress this week passed a bill to suppress the vote of millions of married women and also low-income voters. All 7 MAGA Michigan Republicans in Congress voted for this atrocity, of course, while all 6 Michigan Democrats voted against it. However, one Democrat in the U.S. House did vote along with Republicans, and that was Texas Congressman Henry Cuellar, who received a pardon from dear leader Trump this year after being indicted for fraud. So I'd like to personally thank Nancy Pelosi for backing Henry Cuellar a few elections ago when we could have had a true working-class progressive in that seat. Well done, Nancy. This anti-voting bill requires citizens to either obtain a passport or birth certificate, in most cases just to register to vote. So it's essentially a poll tax against the working class. Oh, and MAGA Republicans claim that it's all about ensuring that non-citizens will not be able to vote, which is an extremely rare problem. In fact, it's a non-problem. Non-citizens are not allowed to vote. Now, polls show that Americans believe some kind of identification is needed to vote, and that is given the Trump regime and MAGA Republicans carte blanche to go even further by trying to institute this poll tax. It's not about stopping voter fraud. It's about stopping those the regime and those supporting the Epstein class deem as non-Americans. Women and all marginalized citizens are not real voters to the Epstein class and its white supremacist allies, and that goes for low-income working-class white voters as well. What, you believe MAGA Republicans who follow the orders of the billionaire Epstein class care one bit about working-class Americans wherever they live? I mean, there are 13 billionaires inside the Trump regime right now, including Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick, who, thanks to the release of the Epstein files, lied when he said that he cut ties with Jeffrey Epstein some 20 years ago. And Lutnick, by the way, also played an instrumental role in meeting up with the billionaire Maroon family, which owns the Ambassador Bridge in Detroit, as they pushed the regime to delay the opening of the Gordie Howe Bridge that'll add a second link from Detroit into Canada. Again, it's about protecting their class, their people. This anti-voting bill barely passed the House and is now on to the Senate, where it's already got at least one Democrat on board. That's Pennsylvania's John Fetterman, and yes, I can already hear your expletives after I just said that. And if passed, this bill will be in effect for this election. So you combine this extreme voter suppression tactic, while the regime will send in the ICE Gestapo to certain polling stations in heavily Democratic voting areas in Michigan, and then maybe you start to realize that maybe we're in some serious trouble. And then maybe, just maybe, you realize that saying you'll work with this fascist regime in the name of getting stuff done not only makes you look weak in the face of such fascism, it kind of makes you appear like you were an accomplice to it. leftoflansing@gmail.com is the best way to reach me. Follow me on Blue Sky, Facebook, the Gram, and Twitter. Subscribe to the show on the YouTube, and subscribe and give a good 5-star review of Michigan's premier progressive podcast. Also, follow us on Patreon. Take the battle to them.